HOA Karen ruin skate ramp. Sue it and find $170,000. The skate ramp was our sanctuary, a jagged slab of wood and concrete where we carved out freedom with every grinding ollie and clattering kickflip. For the kids of Willow Creek, it wasn't just a structure, it was a heartbeat. But Karen Whitaker, with her clipboard and her HOA rulebook, saw it as an eyesore, a blight on her pristine suburban kingdom. I'm Riley, 19, a community college dropout who poured every spare dollar into keeping that ramp alive. My friends and I built it ourselves 3 summers ago, hauling plywood from Home Depot and begging local businesses for donations. It wasn't pretty, but it was ours, a place where misfits like me, my best friend Diego, and even shy little Emma could escape the monotony of cul-de-sacs and casseroles. We painted murals on it, wild explosions of color that screamed rebellion. The ramp stood at the edge of the neighborhood park, technically on public land, but that didn't stop Karen from hating it. Karen Whitaker, 48, was the HOA president who ruled Willow Creek like a dictator in yoga pants. She'd stride through the neighborhood in her pristine white sneakers, her blonde bob bouncing, ready to slap violation notices on anyone who dared leave a bike on their lawn. To her, the skate ramp was a personal insult, a dangerous, graffiti-covered monstrosity that lowered property values. Never mind that it was on city property. Outside her jurisdiction, Karen didn't care about technicalities. She cared about control. It started small. One morning, we found a typed letter taped to the ramp, signed by Karen. This structure violates community standards. Remove it by next week or face consequences. Diego laughed it off, tossing the paper into a nearby trash can. She's got no power here, he said, his skateboard tucked under his arm. Let her try. I wasn't so sure. Karen had a way of making things happen, like when she got Mr. Larson's vintage car towed for improper parking. We ignored the letter, but I felt a knot in my stomach. A week later, Karen escalated. She showed up at the ramp with a city official in tow, a nervous guy in a polo shirt who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. This is unsafe, Karen declared, gesturing at the ramp like it was a biohazard. I've filed a complaint with the city. You kids have until Friday to dismantle it. The official muttered something about permits and shuffled off. Diego flipped her off as she walked away, but I saw the glint in her eyes. She wasn't bluffing. We rallied. Emma, who was only 14 but had a knack for research, dug into city records and found that the ramp was grandfathered in under an old park ordinance. It was legal. Armed with this, we printed flyers and got 200 signatures from neighbors who loved the ramp. We presented them at a city council meeting where I stammered through a speech about how the ramp kept kids out of trouble. The council agreed to let it stay. For a moment, we thought we'd won. Then Karen went nuclear. One night, under cover of darkness, she hired a crew to tear the ramp apart. We woke to find our sanctuary reduced to rubble, splintered boards, twisted metal, and our murals defaced with spray-painted curses. Diego kicked a broken plank, his face red with rage. Emma cried, clutching her skateboard like a lifeline. I just stood there, numb, staring at the wreckage. Karen had crossed a line, and she wasn't even subtle about it. A neighbor saw her directing the crew, barking orders like a general. The neighborhood buzzed with outrage. Kids posted videos of the destruction on X, tagging Karen's HOA page. HOA Karen destroys skate ramp went viral locally, racking up thousands of views. Parents who'd never cared about the ramp suddenly saw their kids' heartbreak and joined the fight. But Karen doubled down. At the next HOA meeting, she stood up, all smiles, and said, I did what was necessary to protect our community's image. Those delinquents had it coming. That's when Diego's uncle, Javier, entered the picture. Javier was a lawyer, the kind of guy who wore flip-flops to court but could dismantle an opponent with a single sentence. He wasn't part of our crew, but Diego dragged him to the ramp's ruins one evening. Javier surveyed the damage, shaking his head. This woman's got some nerve, he muttered. Then he grinned. Let's sue her. Javier became our wild card, the twist we didn't see coming. He worked pro bono, diving into legal research with a glee that made Diego nervous. "Your uncle's kinda intense," I whispered as Javier scribbled notes about property law. Diego shrugged. "Yeah, he lives for this stuff." Javier found that Karen had overstepped big time. Destroying public property without authorization was vandalism. Plain and simple. He also uncovered that she'd misused HOA funds to pay the demolition crew, a breach of fiduciary duty. The lawsuit hit Karen like a freight train. We filed for damages, $50,000 for the ramp's reconstruction, plus emotional distress for the kids who'd lost their safe space. Javier was relentless, presenting photos of the ramp's ruins, testimonies from skaters, and even a psychologist who talked about the impact on Emma's mental health. Karen, representing herself because no lawyer would touch her case, floundered in court. She rambled about community standards and called us hooligans, but the judge wasn't having it. The courtroom showdown was electric. Karen took the stand, her voice dripping with condescension. "I was protecting property values," she insisted. "That ramp was a danger." Javier pounced. "So you, without city approval, hired a crew to destroy public property?" Karen's face reddened. I acted in the community's interest." The judge leaned forward, his expression icy. "Ms. Whitaker, you acted in your interest." Then came the bombshell. Javier revealed bank records showing Karen had siphoned $20,000 from the HOA's budget for her project. Gas rippled through the courtroom. Even Karen's few supporters, other HOA busybodies, shifted uncomfortably. The judge's gavel came down hard. Karen was liable for $150,000 in damages to the city and our group, plus $20,000 in HOA restitution. Her face crumpled as the number sank in. She'd lost everything: her savings, her reputation, and her precious HOA presidency. But the victory wasn't sweet yet. The ramp was still gone, and rebuilding it would take months. Emma, usually quiet, spoke up at a community meeting after the verdict. "Karen took something from us," she said, her voice shaking. "But we're not giving up. We'll build it better." The crowd erupted in cheers, and donations poured in, $10 here, $50 there, even from people who'd never skated. Diego and I got to work, designing a new ramp with reinforced concrete and space for more murals. Karen, meanwhile, faced her reckoning. The HOA ousted her, and neighbors shunned her. She put her house up for sale, but no one bit. Turns out nobody wants to live next to the woman who bulldozed a kid's skate ramp. Last I heard, she'd moved to a condo downtown, far from Willow Creek's hooligans. We unveiled the new ramp 6 months later. Under a blazing summer sun, Emma landed the first trick, a perfect pop shove-it, and the crowd roared. Diego painted a mural on the side, a phoenix rising from broken boards, with the words "skate free" in bold red. I looked at it and felt something settle in my chest, not just victory, but justice. What do you think? Did Karen get what she deserved? Or was she just misguided? Share your thoughts below.